everybody. Before to start, I need to apologize myself because if you look at all the paperwork, apparently the guy that should be here is Carlos Sanjuan. That basically is this fashion model. So I hope you will be happy having me here. So I'm Oscar Sanjuan, not Carlos, and I'm the engineering director of Elasticbox. And basically, we are here to show you one plugin that we have created to make Jenkins independent from the cloud you want to deploy your workloads. So basically, in the same way that currently you probably deploy slaves in Amazon, if you use our plugin, you will be able to deploy slaves in any cloud in a transparent way. So basically, we are using some kind of separation of concerns. So slaves is one thing, cloud is a different one, and all the orchestration and stuff that you want to do in Jenkins is absolutely isolated. So basically, what we do in Elasticbox is create a middleware that lets you deploy any application anywhere. And that's what basically we do every day, working, trying to create this solution. Internally, we use Jenkins, and that's why we started to create this plugin. So every one of our developers, when they create a pull request, we automatically run from Jenkins unit test, integration test, what we call cloud test, and also we run end-to-end test that basically is something that we do launching a whole new instance of the product with the changes that the developer has created. This is great because it's not only to run the end-to-end, but also we can have a project manager, maybe a customer, testing that instance that is automatically released in the moment that the pull request gets merged. We also work with different environments. So internally we work with a local dev environment where the developers can locally deploy their own stuff to give it a try. We also have a pull request test environment that is this dynamic environment that we create for each pull request. And then of course we have one staging and production environment that we reconfigure and put the new code also in a very automatic way. So every single time that one pull request gets merged, basically we reconfigure our staging environment and that gets automatically the new code. So we have been doing this for years. What happened is that we realized that this is a use case that many people will want to use. So we have created a Jenkins plugin that basically makes super easy to make all this for everybody. So basically we use Jenkins today to build our own CI/CD environment. We also work in a hybrid multi-cloud environment. So we deploy stuff in Google, we deploy stuff in Amazon, we deploy our stuff in vSphere. And all these will require changing your Jenkins except for this isolation that we are going to show you thanks to our Jenkins plugin. Of course, we're also aware that it's typical to have a very dynamic environment in the cloud, so it's very useful to want to at least give it a try on a cloud environment. Maybe you want to have it have your workload in Amazon, but also in Google, because I mean sometimes it happens. It shouldn't fail, but it happens. So basically, the environment where we started to create the plugin is because we have the need of being able to deploy different slaves that are capable to be deployed in different regions, different clouds, and also to avoid the need of dealing with an explosion of the configuration, because each cloud can be different. Also, our goal was to avoid the changes in Jenkins. So basically, if I want to change my infrastructure, Jenkins should not be modified, ideally. So our main goal is basically let Jenkins do what he does the best, and let's deal, in our case with Elasticbox, with the complexity of the different clouds and the different environments. Or what is the same? Jack of all trades, master of none. So let Jenkins do what he does the best. So trying to achieve all this, our design challenge has been these four. Basically, we are trying with our plugin to make Jenkins independent from infrastructure. So basically, you don't need to know where are you deploying your workloads. We are also trying to manage your workloads or your instance, your slaves, in a way that we call cloud scale, because basically you will not have 2 slaves, 3 slaves, maybe you can have thousands of slaves that need to be reconfigured. You are managing probably thousands of machines, thousands of microservices, and we are going to do this with one feature based on tabs that we're going to show you later. Also, sometimes creating the slaves is not an easy task. So basically, we're going to show you how you can create your slaves using Elasticbox in a way that basically they will be encapsulated and they will be easily replicable, traceable, and you will have an easy way of managing them and of course scaling them up and scaling them down. So let's get into all this challenge. So the first thing that we were trying to solve is how to make Jenkins independent from the infrastructure, and what we have defined is how to connect Elasticbox with Jenkins. So we were looking at Jenkins, and basically we come with this idea of make Elasticbox a cloud for Jenkins. So in the same way that you can create Amazon Cloud in Jenkins, now you can create an Elasticbox cloud. What is different is that you will not be connected to Amazon directly, you will not be connected to Google directly, you will be connected to Elasticbox, and you will deploy with the infrastructure that you have configured in Elasticbox. So basically the IT guys can deal with the infrastructure, and the people that is working in Jenkins with the continuous integration, continuous delivery process, or designing the jobs, they only need to concentrate in Jenkins, and they don't care about the infrastructure. We can do this also thanks to one abstraction that we have in Elasticbox that is something that we call deployment policy, that basically is like a template of how are you going to deploy a machine, a node, and a slave in Elasticbox. Usually it includes where are you deploying, when, how, who is deploying it, who can deploy that slave, etc. Well, this is part of our UI for the plugin. Basically, you can see how we can create one connection between Jenkins and Elasticbox. Obviously, you need to give a description for the connection. Then you can provide the endpoint and the maximum number of instances that you want to manage with that cloud. Usually, this is just because of security, because you want to make sure that you don't start creating instances but mistakes. So basically, you can set up that limit. Then we have that authentication token. That basically is one authentication token for Elasticbox. Is basically you are giving rights to Jenkins to connect and manage your account in Elasticbox. So once we have set up our connection with Elasticbox, we can define the slaves. So we're going to go deeper into this later, but let's just take a easy look. Basically, for the slave, what you're going to do is to select where do you want to deploy that slave inside Elasticbox. That's what we call workspace. That is basically a grouping mechanism. Then you can select which box are you using to deploy that slave. We'll take a look to what is a box later. And then you can also manage versions, assign tags to the slaves, and you can also set up some limits to deal with the auto-scalability. That limits are basically the minimum number of slaves that you want to spin up and the maximum number of slaves that you will permit. The second challenge is how to deal with a cloud scale. So basically, I don't want to know if I'm talking to one slave or I'm talking to another slave. I want to manage that and scale. And for this we use this metaphor of comparing the pets versus the cattle. So basically, I don't know the name of the cows. I just know that I have 500 cows and they basically provide me with meat. So we're going to do the same with our Jenkins slave. I'm not going to care about each slave individually. I'm just going to care about the tags and the capabilities and the types of the slaves that I'm dealing with. So basically what we're going to be able to do is to manage the whole life cycle of the slaves. We're going to be able to deploy new slaves, install, that means basically getting into the slave the software that I need, configure, maybe changing some parameters, establishing the configurations of what I'm installing on the slaves, start the execution of the slave, stop the execution, or shut down or terminate the machine where the slave is. And all of this is going to be manageable by tags. So basically I'm going to apply to each slave some tags that is going to be usable, so as you can manage group of them in the same way you will be manage one single slave. So as you can imagine, if we are thinking in a microservice world where we can deal with thousands of instances, thousands of workloads, this kind of managing makes a lot of sense. So to go a little bit deeper into this, basically this is how you can define the manageability of one or more slaves based on tags. So basically with Elasticbox you will be able to add new build steps to Jenkins. Here we are adding one build step where I can, for example, reconfigure one slave or one machine. And I can specify, for example, how long I want to be that slave on. In this case, I'm setting up that this slave will turn off at some point that day. And we can also work with the tags that I was telling you. So in this case, what we are doing is deploying a new machine. In this case, it's going to be a MongoDB server of a concrete version. And I can add some tags that will be injected automatically in that slave. So after it's deployed, I can say I want to reconfigure, I want to reinstall, I want to terminate all the Mongos that has the tag state, all the Mongos that have the tag development. So basically I don't care about the individuals, I just select based on tags and constraints what are the instances of the slaves that I want to deal with. Usually, it's not enough to spin up slaves, but we also need to manage the life cycle. So as I showed you before, we can basically execute other actions that let you manage that life cycle. And one of the typical things is that you need to upgrade the version of a slave. Maybe you need to upgrade some variables to change the behavior, install new stuff, etc. So we have also a bit step that basically let you upgrade the values of the variables of the box. I'm going to show you what about this because right now it is too much to think about all this at the same time. So the third challenge is how to spin up and deal with the slave in an easier way. So for this we are dealing with something that we have in Elasticbox that is probably one of our key values. That is something that we call boxes. One box is an abstraction of a software component or an abstraction of a whole application. So basically, when you want to deploy something in Elasticbox, you can define a box that basically describes how to install that in a VM. Usually what we do is to create a box that describes what we want to install in the slaves, the tools that we need, the version of the slave. We can even configure how it's going to work. And we model that as a box. The advantage of doing that is that we are going to have way more replicability of what is on the slaves, and also we're going to have this auto-scalability feature that I was telling you before, because basically from Elasticbox what we are going to do is to spin up, manage, and terminate the slaves. So this is how one slave looks like in Elasticbox. It will be a pretty basic slave based on Linux, where basically what we have is these two variables that we use to connect back to Jenkins. And then we have a bunch of scripts that are the part that basically install whatever you need on the slave. This is done directly from Elasticbox. But basically will be absolutely transparent from Jenkins, so as from Jenkins you will be able to fill that variables, and if you have more stuff because you are installing more tools in the Jenkins environment, that will appear also from Jenkins. Okay, so once I have created the slave as a box, what we have here is the configuration that I can do from Jenkins to the slave. So I need to give to the slave a description, of course. Then I can specify the workspace. The workspace is the grouping mechanism that we have in Elasticbox to group boxes and instances. Then I can specify the box. That box can be any box that you have in Elasticbox. So it can be an slave, but it can be basically with any other software component that you describe. You can specify the version, or you can say latest. So basically, you will deploy the latest version that you have, and then you can specify the tags that are what we're going to use to manage at the scale the instances. Then for each slave, you can define this minimum and maximum number of instances that we are going to deal with it later. Then we have the variables that we have seen in the box before, and then you can select a policy that is basically the configuration of how and where are you going to deploy that slave. So what is interesting here is, as you can see, you don't have to mention which cloud are you using. You just select one policy. So all the configuration related to the infrastructure, all the configuration related to where are you going to deploy that workload is in Elasticbox. So Jenkins don't need to care about at all about infrastructure changes, about where are you deploying your instances or your slaves. And these slaves obviously appears in Jenkins exactly as any other slave. It's just that they are automatically generated and automatically managed by Elasticbox. Finally, the fourth channel, challenge that we want to accomplish was how to deal with the scaling of the slaves. In this case, basically, we are dealing not just with the auto-scaling to spin up more slaves that you need basically to execute more jobs in parallel, but also we are dealing with the scaling down. So basically, we are constantly monitoring the instances and the slaves that you have, and the number of executors that you need, and how many of them are free. So basically, the moment that you are below the limits and you need to spin up more slaves, we automatically launch that slave for you, and we wait for them to be ready, and then we launch the job with them. So how we deal with this? Basically, we have intelligent algorithms that is constantly monitoring the number of executors that you need, the number of executors that you are using, how many instances you have already deployed, how many Jenkins slaves you have ready to work, how many of them are occupied, and then basically we deal with two limits. One is the bottom limit, where basically we specify the minimum number of instances that you want to be available always, and then you can specify the upper limit, that is basically what you don't want to go over. So we can show later a small example of this, but basically once you have set up the limit, you don't need to worry of launching more instances or more slaves, but you also don't need to worry about killing the instances that are not being used, because we automatically remove that instance or that slave for you just when they have passed the number of maximum executions that we allow, or when they have been idle for some time that we can configure. So basically what we have achieved with our plugin is making Jenkins independent from infrastructure, as I'm going to show you in the demo. We are also achieve full automation and consistency, because all of our slaves are exactly the same. We can control exactly the version that we are using in each slave. We can easy and fast set up both Jenkins and our slaves, and we have way more control over the scaling up and scaling down, and of course we have also an easy replicability and traceability of this whole process. So that's what we call using our Jenkins at cloud scale. So let me show you, well, before jumping into the demo, in case you want to try all these, basically you just need to go to Elasticbox, you can set up for a free account, and then basically you just need to go to Jenkins, or Jenkins plugin is free, so you can give it a try and basically take a look on how we spin instances and slaves really fast and in a very easy way. Now is a great moment also to try, because we have released yesterday a new feature that we call public boxes. So basically with this feature you will be able to launch one Jenkins server with one click, and also spin up as many Jenkins slaves as you want. So give it a try. You can go to Elasticbox and spin up your Jenkins server with one click. Let's go for a small demo. I'm going to show you something generic, but I can imagine that each one of you have their own use case. So if you want to go deeper, probably we can meet after the talk in our booth, and we can go deeper into your use case. Okay, so let me start a little bit with Elasticbox, and then we're going to connect with Jenkins. Find one where it's working. Okay, so usually in Elasticbox, the first thing that you need to do is to create what we call a provider, that basically is the connection to your infrastructure. So you can almost connect any infrastructure provider that you may have. So basically we can connect to Amazon, OpenStack, VMware, etc. So let's imagine that we are using Amazon. So what I'm going to need now is to spin up, in this case, one Jenkins server. So I'm going to go and basically want to deploy this Jenkins server. So I just need to click deploy. I'm going to select one policy that I have already created, that basically is that configuration that we were talking about like which VPC in Amazon I'm going to use, which type of machine, if it's going to have ELB, maybe load balancing, that kind of things. So right, we can see a summary here. So basically it's all the configuration from the Amazon side. So once it's that set up, I just need to select the one that I want to use, and basically I can just click deploy. And what is going to happen is that Elasticbox will connect, in this case with Amazon, but it can be with any provider, and will create all the infrastructure that you need to be able to try to make this bigger. Something like that. Okay, so we are going to connect to Amazon, and we're going to allocate all the resources and install Jenkins finally. I have already one Jenkins server spin up here, and we can keep moving. So basically this is what you will get at the end. You can check how it was installed, etc. And finally you can go here and get the endpoint. That is what we are going to use to start working with Jenkins. Okay, so here we have our fresh or almost fresh Jenkins server. I'm going to log in. And now I can go and configure Jenkins. So as I can go to the configuration, and I will be able to add as a cloud Elasticbox. So basically I can configure the slave that I want to have. In this case I'm going to use a sample Linux Jenkins slave that we already have. And we are going to deal with the scalability. So in this case, for example, I'm saying here that we want to use a minimum of 4 slaves. I'm going to reduce that to 2. And I'm going to leave the minimum, well, the maximum I'm going to leave it at 4. So basically I'm going to apply the changes, and that means that automatically Elasticbox is going to kill the slaves that we are not using. In this case, some of them were already used for some builds, so they are being terminated, all of them, and they will get the minimum that I think we set up to. So basically, it will be back to 2 slaves that are available to start working. So this is about how we deal with the minimum and maximum for scalability. We can also use these tags. But basically, I can say demo slave. Okay. I can save that. And then when I try to define a job, I'm going to be able to use that slaves and that tags to deal with the jobs. So let me configure the job. Try. I don't know why it's not loading. This is waiting. Well, let me go back to Elasticbox. So basically, as you can see here, we have destroyed all the Jenkins slaves, and it will appear at some point when it gets recovered. I think we have lost the connectivity, and that's why basically it's stuck and does not let me continue. Okay, let me show you another example, and then we can go back. Probably we'll be able to recover the connectivity. So if we are talking about a more complex setup of Jenkins, what I can show you is how we are dealing with our CI/CD environment. So this is one example of one pull request from one of our developers, where basically while they are doing the code review, we spin up automatically one instance that contains the whole code of the product with the changes that they want to do. So basically this instance can be used for both running end-to-end, but also the automatic test, and also to have somebody like give it a try and checking the feature. That feature, once it's finished and it gets merged, we automatically release all the resources. So basically you don't need to care about spending too much resources in your cloud, or either private or public. And it's exactly the same if I close the pull request. Basically all the resources are being released, and if I reopen the pull request, we automatically create a new instance with that code to be able to test it. Well, I think we have still 10 minutes. I would like to use that 10 minutes for questions, and maybe we can go deeper into some examples. We have a bunch of boxes predefined that we call quick starts that are like examples that you can use to build your own boxes. But if you compare us with other componentized solutions, the main difference is that we give you all the freedom to create your own boxes. You can create the boxes in any technology that you want. We create boxes in Bash, in PowerShell if it's for Windows, but we use also Puppet, Chef, Ansible, Salt. So you have an absolutely freedom to use whatever you want. And with this new feature of public boxes, we are releasing right now 25 different boxes that are basically samples that you can use to start with your own boxes. Our boxes have a component-based model, so basically you can include our boxes in your boxes so as you can reuse your functionality.
If I want to create my own box that I want to use over and over again without really tracking it.
You can have a base box that you can include in other boxes, and then you can either modify the variables or override them, or just add more functionality, adding more boxes. So one box can contain other boxes. So that's the model exactly. More questions?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, can you repeat the question? Because
No.
in reality, what we are proposing here is way more flexible, because what you can do in your case will be setting up a minimum of 0. So basically, the moment that your instance are not being used, it will be reducted. It doesn't matter if it's Friday, Saturday, or whatever. Something that you can do, you could, well, there are a couple of ways. I will do that probably modifying the policy that I showed you before. Maybe we can go deeper into that. And you can set up a termination date for the weekend. So basically, all your slaves will be killed. It doesn't matter if whatever they're doing. So that's an option. But what we usually do is just set up a minimum that is pretty small, and basically we spin up and delete all the rest. But you can also set up that, let me show you, you can set up that from Elasticbox directly. Basically, every single time that you launch any instance, or when you create a policy, you can say, okay, this instance I want to be terminated, and basically you can put the date. It can be Friday, or it can be next month, it can be whatever you want. So every single instance that you launch with this policy will apply that code. So that's one way. Well, you will be able also to come with more sophisticated options, in the sense that I'm thinking that. Really? Okay, so that's great. I'm thinking now that maybe there will be another option. Another option will be from Jenkins. You will be able to use one of our build steps and basically define one job that basically kill all your slaves with some tag. Okay, and then you can have a regular Jenkins job that is just scheduled for Friday, and basically call the other job.
Yeah, that, on Monday morning at 8 a.m. And at 10 o'clock I want to have 2 machines waiting. And then at 6 o'clock I want to have 0 machines waiting.
Okay, so that's perfect. What I will do is to have one Jenkins job that basically use our tags and our build step to spin up how many machines do you want, and also to delete them based on the tags. And then create a regular Jenkins job that basically just deal on when it's going to execute other jobs. Like Monday is this, Tuesday, this, maybe passing a parameter. So it will not be one click, it will be 2 clicks. But it should be very easy. Yeah, basically you will use the Elasticbox Jenkins plugin for the part of spinning up and deleting using our tags, and then a regular Jenkins job with the dates. That would be one way. More questions? Yes. Basically, we have done that only in this field. So basically, you know that with this field you can spin up OS X machines. So if you are using this field, we already have that. Which infrastructure are you using? Okay. Okay. Well, we have a feature that we call Bring Your Own Infrastructure that lets you manage bare metal in the same way that we are managing VM. So in your case, if you already have physical Mac Minis, probably you will use that feature. So for you, that Mac Mini will appear as a regular VM, even if it's physical. Any other question? No? Okay, thank you very much. If any of you want to give it a try, want to go deeper, want to explore your use case, we are in our booth at the end of the room. Please come, and I'm more than happy to have a talk and we can share ideas, etc. Thank you.